Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's another lovely day in the Ozarks for mid-August. It's not much you can complain about, although that's about to change. According to the, all-knowing weatherman that's always so accurate, this weekend, probably starting tomorrow, maybe Friday, the temperature is supposed to start rising, and for the Ozarks and other places around, we're going to get a heat wave. It looks to be probably mid to upper 90s. Not seeing anything showing triple digits, but we're getting close, so it's quite possible that we could break that triple digit barrier for the first time this year in actual temperatures. But so it's going to get warm. If you live, in the area that I do, be prepared for it. Remember, your animals, they need fresh, cool water throughout the day, which means you're going to have to change water a few times. And then just take care of yourself. Don't be foolish and overdo it. It comes on pretty quick, that heat exhaustion. So just thought I'd throw that out there because it looks like it's going to change. We're gonna get a real good summer in once again. We've had a little bit of a break for the last couple of weeks. Not been too bad. Fairly mild weather. Oh, so, the whole Jerome Powell at the head of the Fed is still ongoing contention between Donald Trump and, I guess, Jerome Powell, even though, and I'm no fan of Jerome Powell by any stretch of the means. I'm no fan of the Fed. The Fed needed to end the day after it started. As far as I'm concerned, it's wrong, it's evil, it's all kinds of stuff. So I just want to point that out. But he's been talking about removing Jerome Powell as the Fed chairman or replacing him and all this kind of stuff. And so the news is reporting that among the people that Donald Trump is seriously considering, and it looks like probably that list may be 3 or 4 people is what is being seriously considered, is Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen was the Treasury Secretary under Joe Biden for 4 years. Myself and many others had to poke fun at her because of the policies under Janet Yellen. She is a former chair of the Federal Reserve. She was appointed by, I believe, Donald Trump, or she served during Donald Trump's, I think she was appointed by Barack Obama. But she served as the Fed chair during part of Donald Trump's first presidency. So, but he's considering appointing her again. The reason why I'm even bringing this up, other than it's a laughable, clown show, is that to prove the point that it's all a big club, right? George Carlin called it. It's a big club. You ain't in it. Neither am I. And I'm not defending or saying George Carlin was amazing or anything like that, but even broken clocks are right twice a day. It's a big club. You're not in it. You can, they wear colors, their colors to, we're this team and we're this team, except it's all part of the same club. And nothing's gonna really change. Video is starting to come out last night and this morning out of Washington, D.C. because National Guard troops are there deployed, and good gracious, there's a horsefly the size of my hand. National Guard has been being deployed in Washington, D.C., and an untold amount of federal agents have been pouring into Washington, D.C. to clean up the streets. And maybe they're doing a good job. There's some of the videos, it seems to be a little strange. They're just walking around to people sitting on their front porch smoking a cigarette, telling them that you can't smoke in public. You need to go inside. Well, maybe things are different in Washington, D.C., but from where I'm from, legally, your front porch on your property is not considered public. It may be outside, but it's not public. So that if there's a smoking ban that says you can't smoke in public, smoking on your front porch of your house is not public. I thought I'd throw that out. But anyways, the point that I'm making is that they're going around. Maybe they're doing some good. But maybe my brain just works different. That's probably what it is. My brain fires off at a different way than most people, maybe everyone, I don't know. But, when I see these videos, it seems to be the comments are, yes, I voted for this. I voted for this. And yes, I would always be in favor of reduction of crime. But when we're going around and we're harassing and locking people up and ticketing people and stuff for small things, even if they have known connections to crimes in the past, if they're not really committing, come on, folks, is this what we really want? Because doing this historically has shown that it leads down a path. Now, they're saying that this is only going to last for a short amount of time until the problem is fixed. But I'm telling you that historically, when something like this happens, where a ruler or a president, a king, a whatever, decides to go in and clean up, they use the power of government, the strong arm of government, to go in and clean up an area, it in this way, usually a lot of rights are being trampled on, and very seldom does that government say, okay, now we're done, we're gonna scale things back and give back all these rights to the people. It just doesn't work that way. And I don't think that Donald Trump is any different in that respect than any other head of state, ruler, or anything other in the past. And so, I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you think, because I think it's great that illegals are being, kicked out of the country, even though they're just being held in detention centers here in the U.S. for the most part. I think it's great that we kind of crack down on crimes. There's too much crime in this country. There's too much of a lot of that. But here's the thing. This is the problem with why government. This is I'm going to teach you something. This is a very libertarian. And I'm not talking big L libertarian where they run around with crazy hair and push obscene, things that happen now in the Libertarian Party. I'm talking about, classical liberalism, not... Anyways, if you know, you know, and if you don't, move on. The problem with big government doing things like this is that they're trying to regulate morality. Most of these things. Now, yes, there's crime out there, right? People are actually committing crimes, of course. But things like homelessness and, littering and things like that fall more under a moral code in the sense that why is it happening? And if you go in there with big government and you try to crush it with throwing people in jail, you're not really fixing the problem. You're just incarcerating a lot of people. And along the way, you're probably stepping on the rights of other people, because now the people that are doing good and that aren't committing crimes, they're terrified to do things. And because they're under the big boot of government. And so this is the problem with big government. They don't seem to have the capability of fixing a moral problem, like a moral decay in society. And so the answer is, or the answer to the question for them is, well, then we'll just use force to go in and fix the problem. And so that's the big problem with big government. And I know on one hand you say, yeah, but the results work, right? If the results are less crime and less vagrancy and less trash and all that kind of stuff, doesn't that seem like to be a success? Except the fact that you've created a big government infrastructure that again will most likely actually step on non-criminals' heads. Okay. So I don't think that this is a good path for us to go down, even though if the results kind of seem to look good for a while. We'll just see. The other thing is this whole Russia-Trump, Putin, whatever. They do appear to be meeting in Russia, Alaska. And I know I said yesterday that maybe he's just going to give Alaska to Russia, and people are like, oh, how could he do that? Well, I don't know. I mean, he's saying he's going to take over U.S. cities, and he's going to take Greenland, invade and take Greenland. Who knows what is up his sleeve? And it's quite possible that this, I mean, there's theories out there floating around that maybe this is not so much about Ukraine, but about a secret meeting between Russia and the United States about, circumventing NATO and Europe and creating a northern trade passageway between the United States and Russia. I don't know. It's a possibility. But Ukraine says that they're not going to give up any territory, and Trump says that Russia needs to give up some, if not all, of its territory, and Russia says they're not going to do that. So unless there's something else that we're not aware of, I'm not sure what is going to get accomplished in this talk between Putin and Trump. I'm sure after it's over, the White House and the media and everyone's going to praise it as major advancements towards some kind of peace. But my guess is the reality is it's not going to be much different than what we've already seen. Russia, just in the last 24 hours or so, has made one of the biggest advancements since the war began there, and has been hitting Ukraine quite hard. So I don't know. I think this is just, it's going to be drug out. Unless, because Russia has a whole lot more to lose, especially Vladimir Putin and Russia has a lot more to lose. If they give in to Ukraine, I mean, they know that they're kind of done. They no longer have a real voice on the global stage as a leader. And Putin would know that he's done as the leader of Russia. Ukraine, on the other hand, not a lot of people like Zelensky. Ukraine, everyone kind of assumes that they're probably going to not win this one and that they're going to lose a lot. And so if Ukraine loses, it would be expected. So I can't see Russia backing down much at all on this. I think the only way it's going to end in a somewhat peaceful way is Ukraine is just going to have to lose a lot. And Ukraine right now, and especially NATO, says no. So I don't see this ending anytime too soon, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong quite often. Anyways, moving past all the news that probably doesn't even really affect your life, but sometimes it's fun to talk about it and complain about it, right? On a personal thing, or on a back home where things actually matter for all of us, I just want to tell you guys, I talk about finding small communities, living rurally, living in rural type communities. Occasionally I'll bash voting, as you're probably not going to really affect anything, but on a local level, yes, you can. But even beyond voting and stuff, if you live in a local community and you want to have a voice and you want to, be plugged in and maybe even have a voice when it comes to local preparedness, you should reach out to and this really applies if you live in a really, really small rural community. I'm not talking small like, oh, our town's only 50,000 people, it's so small. No, I'm talking like a couple of thousand people or less in a small rural county. Reach out to the local officials. Go to your county offices, the commission's office or commissioner's office or something like that, and just see what you can do to help. You'd be surprised in the small rural communities that they're starving for help. They need people to help within the government. It doesn't mean you're going to get paid, but you would be surprised where you can help and do some good and have a voice in what's going on. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as a little side tip. All right. Keep getting yourselves ready. Things are they're progressing. They're just not progressing in a dramatic way, but they are progressing. I think in the end, the big thing is it's moving us towards this big AI takeover. And of course, it's also keeping everyone distracted from Epstein files. Yeah, everyone's forgotten about those now. Oh, well, who cares? That's yesterday's news. We don't care about all those pedos that run the whole world and everything. Forget about that, right? But it's all just a big sign and a signal for us to continually prepare, to push us. It should push you even more to prepare mentally, physically, spiritually. And when I say spiritually, you need to be in prayer. You need to be strengthening your soul, yourself in a spiritual sense, because things are just going to get worse and worse. I mean, that's not being pessimistic. That's just, understanding Scripture. All right, folks, get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.